In the ancient land of Ile-Ife, where the skies were blue and the rivers sang, there was a young boy named Obatala. He was different from the other children. While they played and laughed in the fields, Obatala often sat quietly by the river, lost in thought. His mother, Iya Alake, often wondered what made her son so special. One sunny morning, as the golden rays danced on the river's surface, Obatala saw something strange. A white bird, larger than any he had ever seen, flew down and perched on a rock near him. The bird's feathers shimmered like pearls, and its eyes glowed with wisdom. Obatala felt a strange connection with the bird and whispered, "Who are you?" The bird tilted its head and spoke in a soft voice, "I am Olodumare, the creator of all things. You, Obatala, are destined for greatness. You will become a god and bring peace to your people." Obatala was stunned. How could he, a simple boy from a small village, become a god? He wanted to ask more, but the bird spread its wings and flew away, leaving him with a sense of wonder and fear. He couldn't wait to tell his mother, but when he turned to leave, he found himself alone. The river was quiet, and the fields were empty. Days turned into weeks, and Obatala couldn't forget the encounter. He began to notice strange things happening around him. Whenever he wished for rain, the clouds would gather, and the rain would fall. When he touched a dying plant, it would spring back to life. The villagers started to notice these miracles and began to whisper, "Obatala has been touched by the gods." One night, as the village slept under the watchful eyes of the moon, a terrible storm broke out. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, shaking the earth. The villagers huddled in their homes, terrified. But Obatala felt a strange calmness. He knew what he had to do. He walked to the center of the village where the winds howled the loudest. With his arms raised to the sky, he called out, "Olodumare, if I am truly destined to be a god, show me your power now." As if obeying his command, the storm ceased and the skies cleared. The villagers emerged from their homes, awestruck. They fell to their knees and praised Obatala, calling him their savior. From that day on, Obatala became the protector of the village. But deep inside, he knew his journey was just beginning. He had to discover his true purpose and fulfill the destiny that Olodumare had foretold. He couldn't help but wonder what challenges lay ahead and if he was truly ready to face them. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the village, a stranger arrived. He was tall, with dark, piercing eyes and a cloak that seemed to merge with the night. "I have come to find Obatala," he said, his voice echoing like a distant drum. Obatala stepped forward, his heart pounding. "I am Obatala. Who are you?" The stranger smiled, a cold, unsettling smile. "I am Orunmila, the seer of the future. I bring a message from the gods. You must embark on a journey, Obatala, a journey to find the sacred white stone hidden deep within the forbidden forest. Only then will you truly become a god." Obatala's heart raced with excitement and fear. The forbidden forest was a place of legends, filled with danger and mystery. But he knew he had to go. His destiny awaited him, and he couldn't turn back now. As the night grew darker and the stars began to twinkle, Obatala prepared for his journey. The villagers gathered around him, their faces filled with hope and fear. "Be careful, Obatala," Iya Alake whispered, her eyes filled with tears. "May the gods protect you." With a determined heart, Obatala set off into the night, the path ahead shrouded in mystery and danger. What awaited him in the forbidden forest? Would he find the sacred white stone and fulfill his destiny? Only time would tell. Obatala walked through the night, his path lit by the pale moonlight. The forest loomed ahead, dark and silent. As he entered the forbidden forest, a chill ran down his spine. The trees were tall and twisted, their branches reaching out like gnarled fingers. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and ancient secrets. He remembered Orunmila's words and kept his eyes and ears open. Every rustle of leaves and snap of twigs made his heart race. But he pressed on, determined to find the sacred white stone. He had only taken a few steps when he heard a strange sound. It was a low growl, followed by the sound of heavy footsteps. Obatala froze, his eyes scanning the darkness. Suddenly, a pair of glowing red eyes appeared in the shadows. A massive creature with fur as dark as the night stepped into the moonlight. Its sharp teeth gleamed and its claws dug into the ground. Obatala's heart pounded in his chest, but he stood his ground. The creature growled and lunged at Obatala. He quickly rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding the beast's claws. He picked up a fallen branch and held it in front of him like a weapon. The creature snarled and circled him, ready to attack again. Obatala remembered the power within him. He closed his eyes and whispered, "Olodumare, guide me." As he spoke, the branch in his hand began to glow with a soft white light. The creature hesitated, its red eyes widening in fear. With a sudden burst of courage, Obatala swung the glowing branch at the creature. The light blinded the beast, and it let out a howl of pain. It stumbled back into the shadows and disappeared into the darkness. Obatala took a deep breath, his heart still racing. He had faced his first challenge and emerged victorious. He continued deeper into the forest, the glowing branch lighting his way. The forest seemed to grow darker and more menacing with each step. Strange noises echoed through the trees, and Obatala could feel eyes watching him from the shadows. But he didn't turn back. He was determined to find the sacred white stone. After what felt like hours, he came across a clearing. In the center of the clearing stood a tall, ancient tree. Its branches were bare, and its bark was cracked and weathered. At the base of the tree, nestled among the roots, was a small glowing stone, the sacred white stone. Obatala's heart leaped with joy. He had found it. He approached the stone, but as he reached out to touch it, the ground beneath him began to shake. The tree's roots came to life, twisting and writhing like snakes. They wrapped around Obatala's legs, pulling him towards the tree. Obatala struggled against the roots, but they were too strong. He could feel himself being dragged closer to the tree, its ancient bark opening like a gaping mouth. Panic surged through him, but he knew he had to stay calm. He remembered the glowing branch still in his hand. Summoning all his strength, he thrust the branch into the ground, sending a wave of light through the roots. The roots recoiled, hissing like serpents, and released their grip on Obatala. He stumbled back, breathing heavily. The tree's bark closed up, and the shaking ground stilled. Obatala knew he had only moments to act. With the last of his strength, he reached for the sacred white stone and held it tightly in his hand. As soon as he touched the stone, a warm, soothing energy flowed through him. The light from the stone grew brighter, enveloping him in a radiant glow. The forest around him seemed to come alive, the trees swaying gently, as if bowing to him. Obatala felt a deep connection to the earth and the sky, to the very essence of life itself. He closed his eyes and let the power of the stone fill him. In that moment, he understood his purpose. He was not just a protector of his village, he was destined to be a god, a guardian of peace and harmony. The vision of Olodumare and the bird's prophecy became clear. He was chosen to bring balance to the world. When Obatala opened his eyes, the light from the stone had dimmed, but he still held it firmly. He knew it was time to return to his village and fulfill his destiny. He turned to leave the clearing, but the path back seemed to have vanished. The forest was different now, silent and serene, as if it had been waiting for him to prove himself. With the stone's guidance, Obatala found his way back through the forest. The creatures that once lurked in the shadows now watched him with respect, their eyes soft and understanding. He felt no fear, only a deep sense of purpose and strength. As he walked, the trees seemed to part for him, and the air grew warmer and brighter. Finally, he reached the edge of the forest. The first light of dawn was breaking over the horizon, casting a golden glow over the land. Obatala stepped out of the forest and saw his village in the distance. The villagers were gathered at the edge, waiting for him. When they saw him emerge, they cheered and rushed to greet him. Iya Alake was the first to reach him. She hugged him tightly, tears of joy streaming down her face. "I knew you would return," she whispered. "I knew you were destined for greatness." Obatala smiled and held up the sacred white stone. "I have found the stone, mother. The journey was difficult, but I am ready to fulfill my destiny." The villagers knelt before him, their faces filled with awe and reverence. They had seen Obatala face the storm, and now they knew he was truly their savior. Obatala looked at the faces of his people, feeling a deep sense of love and responsibility. He knew his journey was far from over. There were still many challenges ahead, and he had to learn to harness his new powers. But for now, he was home, surrounded by those who believed in him. He raised the sacred white stone high above his head, its light shining brightly in the morning sun. "I will protect you all," he declared. "With this stone, I will bring peace and prosperity to our land." The villagers cheered, their voices echoing through the valley. Obatala felt a surge of pride and determination. He was ready to embrace his destiny and become the god he was meant to be. The path ahead was uncertain, but he knew he was not alone. He had the love and support of his people and the power of the sacred white stone. As the sun rose higher in the sky, Obatala stood tall, his white robes billowing in the breeze. The journey to become a god had begun, and he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With the sacred white stone in his hand and the strength of Olodumare in his heart, Obatala knew he could overcome anything. The legend of the white-clad god had just begun. Days turned into weeks, and news of Obatala's return and the sacred white stone spread across the land. Villagers from nearby towns came to see the young god who had braved the forbidden forest and returned with the legendary stone. Obatala welcomed them with kindness, his gentle spirit shining through his every action. But not everyone was pleased with Obatala's rise. In a distant kingdom, a powerful and envious chief named Balogun heard of the boy who had returned as a god. Balogun was known for his greed and cruelty, and the idea of a young boy wielding such power filled him with anger and jealousy. He decided that he would take the sacred white stone for himself. One dark night, as the village slept peacefully, Balogun and his warriors crept into the village. They surrounded Obatala's home, their weapons gleaming in the moonlight. Obatala was woken by the sound of footsteps and sensed the danger. He clutched the sacred white stone tightly and stepped outside to face them. Balogun's eyes narrowed as he saw the young god. "Give me the stone, Obatala," he demanded, his voice filled with malice. "You are too young to wield such power. It belongs to me." Obatala stood his ground, the stone glowing brightly in his hand. "The stone does not belong to you, Balogun," he replied calmly. "It is meant to bring peace, not to satisfy your greed." Enraged, Balogun ordered his warriors to attack. They charged at Obatala, their weapons raised. But as they approached, the sacred white stone shone with a blinding light, forcing them to shield their eyes. The light grew brighter and brighter until it enveloped the entire village. When the light faded, Balogun and his warriors found themselves unable to move. They were frozen in place, their eyes wide with fear. Obatala's voice rang out, strong and clear. "Your greed and cruelty have no place here. Leave my village and never return." With those words, the spell was broken. Balogun and his warriors stumbled back, their faces pale with terror. They fled into the night, their cries echoing through the valley. The villagers awoke to find their homes safe and their god victorious. Obatala lowered the stone, its light now soft and warm. He looked at his people, who had gathered around him, their faces filled with gratitude and awe. "We are safe," he said, his voice gentle. "Balogun will not trouble us again." The villagers cheered, their voices filled with joy and relief. They knew that with Obatala by their side, they had nothing to fear. He had proven himself not only as their protector, but as a true god, one who would bring peace and justice to their land. From that day on, Obatala ruled with wisdom and compassion, he used the power of the sacred white stone to heal the sick, bring rain to the fields, and ensure that his people lived in harmony. His village flourished, and his fame spread far and wide. Obatala's journey from a simple boy to a god had been filled with challenges and dangers. But he had faced them all with courage and determination. With the guidance of Olodumare and the love of his people, he had fulfilled his destiny and become the white-clad god, revered and loved by all. And so, the legend of Obatala lived on, inspiring generations to come. His story was told in every village, a tale of bravery, wisdom, and the power of a pure heart. The sacred white stone remained a symbol of hope and peace, a reminder of the God who had once walked among them and brought light to their world.